Vasudeva. Hari Om. Syam no mitrasyam varunaha. Syam no bhavatvaryama. Syam na indro bruhaspatihi. Syam no vishnurukramaha. Namo Brahmane. Namaste Vayo. Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi. Tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami. Ratam vadishyami. Satyam vadishyami. Tanmamavatu. Tadvaktaramavatu. Avatu mam. Avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome to all brothers and sisters. So we are here once again to continue our study of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So we are studying the 7th and 8th aphorisms, an explanation for these two aphorisms. Up to 6 we have completed. 7th also is completed. In the 7th aphorism, he explained about the 3 types of measures, right measures. Because we have seen so far that the mind has 5 types of behaviors. The first one is the right measure, second one is wrong measure, and then the third one, which is the empty measure, the fourth one, which is sleep, and the fifth one, which is recollection. So the right measure, regarding the right measure, the first one, we have 3 types of right measures. One is called pratyaksha. It means the direct exposure, about which we have studied last time. Direct exposure to our 5 types of senses. So what we see before our eye, what we listen through our ears, what we smell, what we taste, what we feel, the touch. So these are the direct exposures. That is what is called pratyaksha. So we receive the knowledge, or also we receive the impression or the image through the 5, through this direct exposure. So the first one, the direct exposure. But the direct exposure, we have seen, it can be applied to a certain extent only. Beyond the reach of our 5 senses, what is there, that cannot be perceived only by direct exposure. Because there is, the direct exposure is, when it is not possible, then we cannot perceive. Then we have to use the second one of the right measure, that is anumana, or the inference, what is called inference. This is the second one. Most of all our activity and transactions in the mundane world are connected to this second one, the inference. The first one, which is the direct exposure, is there, but that has a limited application only, because the perception through our five senses by exposure is limited. Beyond certain extent, it is not possible. So beyond that, how can we perceive? Is through the second one, that is inference or anumana. Anumana is the name in Sanskrit, anumana. Mana means measure. Anumana means the measure which is used along with the first one. So anumana. So this is the anumana, the indirect perception. So there are many examples from our daily life where we have to apply this anumana. So for example, we have many types of pots before our eyes. So the pot in which we keep our water, a smaller pot, a medium-sized pot, a big-sized pot, or a pot where we can put milk, all these pots made of clay. So these pots can be perceived directly. Direct exposure is there. But when a pot is broken, so there is no pot, because pot is broken. But again the pot can be made with the same material which is called clay. So when you have the pot before your eye, the clay is not, it has not entered into a perception. We see always the shape. So when the shape is it has disappeared, then only we are reminded of the substance with which the shape is brought. What we call pot is only a structure, a shape made on the base of the clay. So the clay is eternal and the pot is temporary. So like this, in the use of the second one, then we will realize that it is the clay that is the real substance, and all this what we call the parts and all these, they are there for some time, and afterwards when they are broken, they disappear. Then what happens is, why this second right measure, which is called inference or anumana, which is used for us, by us, to perceive beyond the physical level, trans-physical. Most of the things are beyond the physical level. So to perceive these things, there is no need of the five sense organs. We can sense them without sense organs. How is it possible? It is possible because we see every day. For example, when we see a person who is sitting without talking and who is not in a normal mood, you try to transact with the person. So he says, I am not in a good mood. But where is the mood? Can you see anything like a mood? Okay, it cannot be, because it is not physical. So, there are many of the things, many of the data, many of the things which are important for us, for our transactions in our daily life. They can be understood and perceived by using this second one, the inference only. What for this? If for the inference is. So, using this inference, this inference is used not only for the worldly aspects, but this inference also, it leads us for realization of what we call liberation. What is liberation? What we call liberation, or in Sanskrit we call this moksha. What does it mean? That means we have, if we can live our life without any sort of self-conditioning, that means where we are not answerable to anybody, where we can live, when we can live happily, when we are not get into entanglements, we are not entangled in anything, then that experience is what is called liberation or moksha. Unfortunately, many people think that we attain liberation or moksha after leaving this body. But that is not true. Leaving the body is not liberation. Liberation is getting freedom from self-conditioning, bondage. We live in a bondage caused by self-conditioning. So we have to get liberated from that to live happily by not getting into any sort of entanglements. Then what for this is it is necessary, it helps us to realize that all the bodies, what we see, including our body and all the bodies around us, there we can realize that all the bodies are formed from the minerals of our earth. So with the same substance, like how all the pots are made with the same substance which we call clay, in the same manner, all the bodies of the beings, they are made up of the minerals which are taken from this earth. So all the minerals, ultimately, when we go deeper into their source of existence, then we will reach in the atoms and still the minutest particles in the atoms. There we see the power which is called Prakriti or the nature. And this nature is pervaded by the Lord, the indweller. So it is the same Lord, the indweller, who pervades every particle, every atom, and every mineral, every form, all this. This is not by direct exposure, you cannot realize this. You can get by inference only. That is why inference is very important. The second right measure or the inference is so important for us. So, then what happens if we are liberated from this bondage or self-conditioning by using this inference? Then we live very happily, always smiling. So, the second one, the inference or Anumana Pramana, inference, is so important for us to make it possible that we can live very happily. So, because from our experience, we take any sort of situation with a smiling face, with a smile. We take the essence of everything. Then we are not exposed to any sort of disappointment, despondency or anything. We are always happy. So therefore, the second one, inference, is so important. What is the third one of the right measure is called Agama. This Agama, which is the third one, is the ultimate one, even higher than inference. It is understood as the word. Agama is the word. How can we get right perception, right measure? How can we use it as a right measure? Which is not possible by direct exposure, and which is also not possible by mere inference. Beyond that, much wider and larger measure is this Agama, or the word. For example, last time we have taken the example, if somebody says Mount Everest in the Himalayas is the highest peak of the world, so that is a word uttered. But this one is acceptable for everybody. All the billions of people on this earth, they have accepted this. How? Do you mean that all of these billions of people, every one of them, have climbed up to the Mount Everest and the peak, and directly they have perceived this, and then they have accepted? Then it is not possible. How many people can go to the top? Even the very big mountaineer, very experienced mountaineers also, not all of them can do it. But everybody in this world accepted this fact. How? Without seeing themselves with their own eyes, how can they accept? Yes, we have to accept it, because it is universally accepted. So that is, you see, so this is an example, wonderful example for the word. And also every day, most of us, many millions of people, are reading the newspaper every day. So many aspects of the news, so many incidents are recorded there as the news every day in the newspaper. Are we accepting or not? How we are accepting? Is it, for example, if we say that there is a plane crash somewhere in some country, immediately there is a news all over the world. But how people all over the world can accept this without directly perceiving this, verifying this directly? It is not possible. But they are accepting. We are accepting the news like this from anywhere in the world, which we cannot use our direct perception or also not inference. You cannot make any inference about this. Simply but we are accepting this. So it is 1 million times or 10 million times it is becoming true with everyone, every individual. So therefore, this is very wide thing which you need not verify. You need not try to verify by yourself. It is not possible also. So this is what is called the perception by word. Because the word is very much trustworthy. So such word. So like this you have all the scriptures are example for this agama. Because all that what is recorded in the scriptures, world scriptures, about the macrocosm, microcosm, and all the creation and all these things. So, all these things we cannot have a direct perception. You cannot make an inference also, but they are universally acceptable. Very simple things also. For example, our earth has magnetic power. How can you perceive directly? Our earth is going around the sun. Every day we observe, we feel that sun is going around our earth, but in fact our earth is going around the sun. Are we accepting or not? It is not by direct exposure or not by inference. It is by agama. That is the words from the science, from the scriptures and from the science. We have to accept it. So therefore, all the sentences, what you find in these holy scriptures, they are example for agama. So agama means impersonal. A word or a sentence which is given on impersonal basis, that is called agama. For example, you take the example of numbers. You take the mathematical table. If you multiply 7 into 6, that gives 42. So how are you accepting? Any time, anywhere in this creation, any time, even after this whole creation has gone into dissolution, once again it has come back into existence. Even then, 6 into 7 becomes 42 only, not otherwise. So, if somebody produces once again the book of mathematical table, he has to produce in the same manner. You cannot change it. So that is an example of agama. Nobody can, even for example, logarithm tables. We make calculations using logarithm tables. Of course, now all these logarithm tables and multiplication is done by computer. Therefore, nobody is nowadays is capable to use them. But still, they are unchangeable, and nobody can deny them. Nobody can question them whether they are right or wrong, because they are universal. And that is why, how they are accepting, because it is by word. That is how we are accepting. That is called agama. So that is how we have to understand the world scriptures. And now, this is, so far we have understood about the first type of behavior of the mind, which is called right measure, which is called pramana. Now the second one is viparyaya, or the wrong measure. So, what is viparyaya? What is wrong measure? It is wrong application. So, viparyaya is wrong measure which establishes presence of that which is not there and causes false knowledge. It is understanding something is there, and basing on that we understand that in the manner which is in a different manner. That is viparyaya. So this is called wrong measure. So the second one among the 5 basic behaviors, it causes distortion from truth. Distortion from truth. That is why it is called wrong measure. The first one is right measure, this is wrong measure. That means using the measures in an inverted manner. That is the wrong measure. For example, I am sitting in the chair, and in the middle, speaking to you, I stood from the chair, I stood up and speaking to you. And then after some time, then I wanted to sit, and I was sitting, and in the meantime, somebody has taken this chair away. Then also I was sitting and I fell down. Why I fell down? Because the chair is not there physically. But then how I was sitting? Because the chair was existing in my mind. You see, that is, or we can use these examples, very simple examples from our daily life. Suppose I am wearing this. If you ask what is it that you are wearing, and then I say it is shirt. So I call this a shirt. You have accepted when I say it is my shirt, but in fact it is not shirt, it is only a cloth. Because I told you, I have accepted this. So this example which we have taken, we have discussed about this example last time. So this is also a wrong measure. What we are using is also always wrong measure. So without using the wrong measure, you cannot live in this world, mundane world. The only thing is, you have to know the right use of wrong measure. That is the thing. Because we have to remember, when the behavior, 5 types of behaviors are first mentioned by Patanjali, he said that these 5 types can be made right in a right manner or a wrong manner. Right use of right measure or wrong use of right measure, the first one. Then this wrong measure, right use of wrong measure, wrong use of wrong measure. How can we make right use of wrong measure? We are making right use of wrong measure only in our daily life, in every aspect. Without this, our daily life cannot continue. In the same example, if we call this a shirt, it is a wrong measure only, it is not right measure. It is only, ultimately, if you go more and more deeper, ultimately it is only a manifestation of energy. How can you call a shirt? But if you do not remember it as a shirt, you cannot wear a cloth, a shirt on your body. So therefore, we use wrong measure only in a right manner. So that is what is happening every day in our daily life. So in that way, this is very useful, this type of right use of wrong measure or viparya. So this viparya, wrong measure, is very useful for us even to realize what we call God, which is not directly perceptible. We think if we speak of God, then what we do, that God is there in the temple, God is there in the statue, or God is there in the picture, like this. But by a wrong measure only we will realize. So in our yoga abhyasa, practice of yoga, this wrong measure is very important, because this leads us forward in the yoga practice, this wrong measure. All our transactions in our daily life with each other are based on this viparya only. Wrong measure only, it is exactly wrong measure, but right use of wrong measure. Last time also we have discussed. So ultimately everything is God presence or Brahma, you may say. So then when you say every object, every person, everything is Param Brahma, it is okay, it is true. It is the right understanding. But if you do not apply wrong measure, this second one, or viparya, you cannot realize the existence of this Parabrahma everywhere in the creation. You take simple example. You take example of husband and wife. If you see your wife, you see your wife only, but where is the wife? Is it wife or a person, human being? So therefore, this is a wrong measure only. But our transaction in every daily life is based on this wrong measure, a right use of wrong measure. That is how our transactions are going on. Suppose we look upwards and say into the sky. So if somebody asks me how is the sky, I say sky is blue. Is it blue really? There is nothing like blue there. But it appears blue. You see? So, this is all wrong measure only. What we are using is all wrong measure. But you cannot say that why God should create a wrong measure. Only He should have created only right measure. Why wrong measure? If wrong measure is not created, in our daily life, our mundane life is not possible. So then what happens is, we have to know what is wrong, what is right. How can you know what is right if there is no presence of what is wrong? You see, if there is light and there is darkness, two opposite aspects are there. If somebody says why there should be darkness, if there is no darkness, if there is only light, you cannot exist. Suppose if there is all the time daylight and no night at all, can you imagine what happens? The whole world, the whole of the creation will get into disintegration. There is always an alternation of day and night, light and darkness like this. So truth and untruth. What do you call truth, what do you call untruth? These two together, put together, form the part of the background truth. That is what the Veda says. So therefore, you cannot claim that all this wrong, what you call wrong, should not exist. It exists. Because there is wrong, then you try to know what is right. Without the existence of wrong, you cannot realize what right means. So, when we see into the sky, what is there? Is there any object which is blue in color? No, there is nothing. It is only, the truth is, it appears blue to our eye, that's all. There is, by itself, there is nothing like blue in the sky. So we have accepted it commonly, because there is truth in the background. So we have to accept this. We know that this is to be used as a measure. We are using them, but we are not aware that it is wrong measure what we are using. So all the relationships between the people is all application of wrong measure only. All the relationships, father and mother, wife and husband, friend, enemy, all these are wrong measure only. So, these are all invented by the human mind in artificial manner. All the creation is made possible to exist by this wrong measure only. This is what this wrong measure, vipareya, is called mithya jnana. That is what they say, mithya. Mithya means myth. So, there is a wonderful sentence. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. Jagat means this creation. Brahma, the creator, is truth. And all the creation is a myth. Okay. So if it is really myth here, myth, mithya means that is not that it is useless. Because you are perceiving it separately, that is called mithya. That is illusion. Mithya means myth or illusion. That is also eternal. That is what the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, that the Lord and the illusion both are eternal. Maya or illusion. It is eternal. So all these names, for example, all these names which we have, or all the persons, it is also a myth. It is not true. Any of the names you take, you call the person, I call the person before me when I come to Russia, then I call Lyson. When I go to Ukraine, I call Peter. Is it true that she is Lyson? No. So it is, but if this name is not there, how can you call her? So we have to use them, even though they are not real, they are of illusion, but you have to use this only to know what is real. In fact, for example, we are talking to each other, you and me, we are talking to each other. I am speaking to you, that means to whom I am speaking, with whom I am transacting. I am speaking to Lysan. Is it I am speaking to her eyes, to her face, or to her hands? To which part of the body I am speaking? And from I am speaking also the same thing. So I am speaking to the person, not to the structure, not to the body. So the transaction between one person and another person is a transaction at the trans-physical level. But the structure is there. So the structure is a vehicle for the transaction. So therefore, we have to use this wrong measure in a right manner. That is what we are doing in our daily life. If mithya is not there, we cannot live in this world at all. So, we have to live with this wrong measure, using this wrong measure. So this is, this wrong measure it makes you to perceive and understand something which is not there. Which is not there before the eye. That is what is called wrong measure. It makes you perceive and understand something which is not there before our eye, for our direct perception. It is not there. So that is what is called as wrong measure. So it is called a superimposition. So what I call my wife is a superimposition on that person. She is not a wife by birth, I am not her husband by birth, but it is only superimposition that she is a wife, I am the husband, I am the father, he is the son, like that. These are all superimpositions, but it is necessary superimposition. So, this is important. This wrong measure is very important to be applied. So your behavior may be distorted if you have to use this measure in a right manner, then there will be no distortion. So to use it in a right manner, we have to apply this wrong measure. Because the right measure is direct, the pratyaksha, anumana, all this is limited. So this daily transaction is based on this wrong measure only, the second one, vipareya. So we have known about two types of behaviors, anumana and vipareya, two types. And now the third one, the third type of behavior is called vikalpa. Vikalpa means empty measure. The first one is right measure, pramana. The second one is vipareya, wrong measure. The third one is vikalpa, or the empty measure. What is empty measure? When an object which is not there at all is established by a word and its meaning, then it is called vikalpa, or empty measure. So vikalpa is also more or less like vipareya, but still lower than vipareya. For example, the children are playing, and suddenly you go near the children and call them, children, here are chocolates, but you don't have any chocolate with you. You don't have a chocolate in your pocket, or don't have a chocolate with you in your hand, but just you mention the children, call them and say, children, do you want chocolate? Here? Hey, they will come to you immediately. How they have come to you without the object there? So, when you uttered the word chocolate, this word has certain meaning for them. This meaning is conveyed by this word chocolate to them. And even though there is no chocolate there, but still it has attracted them. So this is what is called empty measure. How this has happened? Because every day those children are habituated to eat chocolate. So their parents might have given them, or somebody's birthday is there, so they have given them chocolate. So somehow or other, every day most of them almost are habituated to eat chocolate. Therefore, when you suddenly said, children, here are the chocolate, even though there is no chocolate before them, so they have responded to this. So this is because of empty measure. The object is not there. But they have responded this. Because the moment you uttered the word chocolate, then it got into their mind and they could perceive, they could feel immediately the color, the shape, the taste of the object which we call chocolate. You see? So this is, so even though, another example is, suppose there is, we are going somewhere else and suddenly we have seen, then we can say, oh, there is some marriage function is there. How can you say? Because there is some type of music which you can hear, and there is some type of decoration which you can see, and there are some garlands, some flowers the people are carrying, and the people going inside are carrying some objects. So by this you can see, there is some marriage here. This can be also, this is very close to inference. This is also a type of inference. Basing on all these things, you have make an inference, there is marriage going on inside. So these two are very close. Similarly, when you are walking, then there is a car which have passed besides you, making some type of alarm. So immediately you can say, oh, ambulance. How can you say? How can you know this? Afterwards you can see it is written there, but even before that, when you are sitting in your room also, when we have listened to this, you say, the ambulance is passing by. The object is not there before your eyes. See? So, vikalpa, empty measure, is that which follows the meaning of a word which has no existence. Words have their meanings which depend upon the existence of the objects. The word mountain is coined to denote a big rocky growth. Suppose we say it is a mountain. This word mountain denotes a big rocky growth. But this word mountain is coined afterwards. Before this word is coined, also there is the existence of this rocky growth, what you call mountain. You see, the rocky growth exists long before the word mountain is coined. So the word should be used to present the rocky growth to the mind. When you say mountain, then in your mind you have the structure of a rocky growth which you call mountain. So the word should be used to present the rocky growth in the mind. When it is used independently, it becomes the talk of a madman. If the word stimulates the mind towards the thought of the rocky growth, in its absence, when both of us, we are sitting in a corner of a room and we are speaking about a mountain, So the mountain is not there before you. But while you are speaking about the mountain, your mind could make that picture of that mountain even without having the object before you. Another example is another more precise example is happiness. When I say I am happy, what is that? Where is that happiness? Can you show it? You cannot make a right measure, direct perception, not even by inference. You cannot have this, you cannot show this. But you say, I am so happy, happiness. Similarly, there are many other things, examples. I say, I have many ideals. What are these? How can you show them? Where are the ideals? If you say, I have many ideals, where are the ideals? In my mind, where is your mind? I say my mind, I say many ideals, I have many plans. Where are the plans? In the mind. So ideals, I have many aspirations. I want to become this. I have become the Prime Minister of a country. I want to become this. So these are all aspirations. And also many hopes in the mind. I have so many hopes. All these things are empty measures. Where are they? Where is the object? You cannot show anything like the object. You cannot explain also. If I ask you what is meant by hope, what can you explain? Only thing is, I hope. What is that hope? Explain? Nobody can explain this. But we are using this. This is also behavior of a mind. So this behavior of the mind is called vikalpa, empty measure. So this creates, vikalpa creates much glamour in us. We have to eliminate this glamour by practice of yoga. So what is to be eliminated also to be known to us, and we have to apply yoga practice to eliminate this glamour, which is the result of this vikalpa. So everyone has his own impression on the world and the persons around him. See? Chittavritti, because of the impressions only. All these 5 types of behaviors, they are the chittavritti. All these 5. And these are the results of the impressions which are formed in our mind about the objects and the persons around us. So we have to remove the impressions and see the world in its real existence. Then he sees only one existence in many forms, which we call God. So what is the ultimate goal we reach by practicing yoga is to get stabilized in the God experience. So that is the purpose. So for that, we have to identify these behaviors of the mind. That is what the Patanjali said in the beginning. Unless you know how many types of behaviors and how are the behaviors of the mind, you cannot get the mind free from these behaviors. You cannot get them suspended. Chittavritti nirodha. Yoga means chittavritti nirodha, suspension of these behaviors. So unless you know the behaviors, how can you make them suspended? That is why he is first explaining all these 5 types of behaviors. So far we have studied, to some extent we have known with examples about the first 3 types of behaviors. Pramana are the right measure, which is called right measure. Viparyaya, which is called the wrong measure. And then Vikalpa, which is called the empty measure. Now we have the 4th one, which we have to study. That is what is called Nidra. Nidra means absence of measure, or which is called sleep. How sleep is also considered as a measure, that we will see in our next class. Now, I want to inform you that from our next class, from our next week, we will have a change in the time of the class. Now, in our Indian time, till now, we are making from 3 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Instead of this, we will shift this a little before. We will shift it a little before. That is, from 12 noon to 1 o'clock. From 12 noon to 1 on the midday, we will have our class from next week, from next Sunday onwards. So please remember this. So we will meet next Sunday at 12 o'clock. Thank you all. See you again. Vasudeva.